Okay, welcome to the weird world of binding. And sometimes aggravating. But I routed the channel around the headstock with the router. This pilot bearing follows this around at a specific depth for our 3 strips like we have here. And if you do this, you have to watch that pilot bearing, how it runs, because get rid of the router. If you look at the side here, and it runs right out, disappears, our nut goes there, and then the front fingerboard binding kind of takes over. But if this bearing rides too low down here, check for that. It'll make this cut really deep, a lot deeper and thicker than 3 strips. This might even be a little bit thicker, and I could add some cream binding to it when it's done. But binding literally gets melted in with acetone. There are adhesives. You open the adhesive up and it smells like acetone and melts the binding. So this is our 3 strips. I cut it down. The headstock binding that I do, I want to leave as much integrity of the wood as I can. I only do like a half thickness, a little thinner, and I do that on the bandsaw. I have some that are already cut down, but in order to do that, I'll take a thin piece of wood with the thickness that I want against the fence and run it in, and then stop part of the way and clamp this to the table. The reason being is the opening, you can see this stuff is really flimsy, and the opening for the saw blade will chip and break this stuff. So this basically just supports it as it runs through the blade, and I'll demonstrate that. And this is a good time. These are cutoff ends. When I bind the whole body, our scraps are good for the little pieces that we're going to need for this. And these do get mitered, almost like the trim in your house around a window. You got to keep all that in mind. And some of the tools, I like to use the fret cutters as a nipper. So it nips flat and it pulls the nipped part away without disturbing what you just did. And another thing I use, I do use acetone, and that melts it in. A heat gun is necessary to get these bends, these curves around here. And you can't overdo it because that stuff will bubble and distort or even turn brown. Just enough to get it to form to those shapes before you install it. And what I hold it with is hockey tape. Apparently, if you buy a case of this stuff, they send you a tin and an apparel catalog. Kind of funny, but hockey tape is really good. There is binding tape. The stuff's really expensive. This stuff is so cheap. It's cloth, and the chemicals do not mess with it. If you already have acetone on it, this won't necessarily stick over that acetone, but after this is stuck on and acetone gets on it, it doesn't affect it. And I split it. You know, I have like skinny strips and then the wider strips for here, and then the skinny strips for holding the binding in these places here. So, all right, let's get started. Okay, so we have our strips. All these little flecks and whatnot, they do get kind of statically charged. I like to kind of clean everything off, but simply just take your thumbnail and kind of push that off. The reason being is it adds a little, it'll add blemishes here and there, and like the black especially will melt into the cream or the white, whatever lighter color you're using. This is kind of a cream binding. I like it. So let's see, that cleans it up. Okay, we have all those cleaned up. You know, this is our end result. We want a nice, crisp, see, there's a tiny distortion there. But, you know, this stuff's it's all hand done. And this is just how I do it. There's probably hundreds of ways, you know, how I do stuff in these videos. It's just my opinion and how I do it. But I'm going to go ahead and clamp this down and let's get started. Okay, I didn't even use the heat gun. This is only the third headstock I've done, believe it or not. And it's getting warmer out. It's probably in the 40s out here right now. And I was doing this in the dead of winter and having a really difficult time, well, doing anything. But I'm a little concerned about that corner. But I know it's a time lapse, but you probably get the gist that this is a thing you gotta hurry the hell up and take your time. It's just one of those kind of focus things. And I don't know, you might have also noticed that this tape is just really, really strong, and it actually will kind of shrink and bind. But I like starting in the middle. If I pull the tape this way, pulling the binding down, or if I start this way, it might want to coax it up over here, so I'll go back and forth. So I try to keep it even, you know, an even tension, but you also want to keep it down because it's also adhering this way. We're in a, you know, in a channel where it's this way and this way. So kind of be aware of that. But you could actually correct corners with tape, kind of move it around, and I don't know, it kind of reminds me of doing the trim around a window, like doing carpentry. But my guitars keep selling, and I don't have an example to show you, a finished one with the triple binding. I only have the body that's actually for this neck, and this is what's going to go around the headstock. And the fingerboard's getting a single ply of that same cream white. And I have another video on that if you're interested in that process. But thanks for watching. Okay, this is a different guitar, but this is the same style that we just did. I have some binding crud on my fingernail, but you could see this one came out. Cream's a little bit thicker because of that bearing piloting on where the neck is carved on the other side. The neck in this video, I do most of my shaping now after everything. You still, you know, you have to blend the binding into the wood. There'll be like a little, you know, you want kind of a seamless relationship there. But I do them differently now than this one was. But I don't know, it's a lot of work. Don't be afraid of trying it. It's a bit of a handful doing 3 pieces. You know, there's some beautiful Gibson Les Pauls out there with the body only has one row of binding. You might want to try something like that before you go getting into, you know, 9 plies or 7 plies, like some, and that stuff's gorgeous, but practice first. But it just nice continuity, you know. that headstock matches the body. Then you have the single row up here, and I wrap my binding up over the front ends, and then the headstock matches the body. But there you have it. That's our end result. And thank you for watching.